Time for convening having arrived, the Senate will come to order. Would ask unauthorized visitors to exit chamber at this time, and the Senate will come to order. Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 53rd.
Good morning, Mr. President. Here on the 29th day, the journal's been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator, for your good works on the journal. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? A reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 246 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 14.
Regulated Industries.
Senate Bill 247 by Senator Staten of the 18th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act establishing the Board of Public Education and Orphanage.
State and local governmental operations.
Senate Bill 248 by Senators Tate of the 38th and others.
State and local governmental operations.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions.
House Bill 34 by Representative Parsons of the 44th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code
Finance Committee.
House Bill 36 by Representatives Watson of the 166th and others, a bill to be entitled an
Natural Resources.
House Bill 45 by Representative Earhart of the 36th and others, a bill to be
Appropriations Committee.
House Bill 94 by Representative Welch of the 110th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend
Judiciary.
House Bill 124 by Representatives Harrell of the 106th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 3.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 125 by Representative Hightower of the 68th and others.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 127 by Representative Powell of the 171st and others.
Appropriations.
House Bill 131 by Representative Clark of the 101st and others. A bill to be entitled
Education and Youth.
House Bill 139 by Representative Hamilton of the 24th and others. House Bill 146 by Representative Weldon of the 3rd and others.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 192 by Representative Kidd of the 145th and others.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 199 by Representative Lindsay of the 54th and others.
Natural Resources.
House Bill 207 by Representative Shaw of the 176th and others.
Natural Resources.
House Bill 224 by Representative Sims of the 169th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to
State and local governmental operations.
House Bill 229 by Representative Teasley of the 37th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend
Insurance and Labor.
House Bill 256 by Representative Hardin of the 122nd and others. A bill to be entitled
Special Judiciary.
House Bill 268 by Representatives Hardin of the 148th and others. A bill to be entitled an
Ag
act.
Committee.
House Bill 271 by Representatives Neal of the 2nd and others.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 296 by Representative Powell of the 32nd and others. A bill to be entitled
Judiciary.
House Bill 297 by Representative Buckner of the 137th and others. A bill
Government Oversight.
House Bill 310 by Representative Wilkinson of the 52nd. A bill to
Ethics Committee.
House Bill 317 by Representatives Cooper of the 43rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 332 by Representative Williamson of the 115th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 26.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 337 by Representative Fleming of the 121st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 16.
Education and Youth.
House Bill 345 by Representative Benton of the 31st. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3.
Retirement.
House Bill 350 by Representative Peake of the 141st and others.
Education and Youth.
House Bill 354 by Representative Clark of the 101st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 20 of the OCGA.
Education and Youth.
House Bill 361 by Representative Lindsay of the 54th and others.
Insurance and Labor.
House Bill 362 by Representative Lindsay of the 54th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 10 of Title 13.
Urban Affairs.
House Bill 365 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st and others. A bill to be entitled
Public Safety.
House Bill 435 by Representative Willard of the 51st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend
State and local governmental operations.
House Bill 444 by Representative Willard of the 51st and others.
State and local governmental operations.
House Bill 471 by Representatives Meadows.
State and local governmental operations.
House Bill 472 by Representative Meadows of the 5th.
State and local governmental operations.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
Clerk will read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 62 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others. Federal and state-funded health care financing program overview committee established. Senate Bill 113 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others. Civil practice, personal service of a summons on a corporation provisions. Senate Bill 144 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others. Georgia Emergency 911 Support Authority create. Senate Bill 165 by Senator McCune of the 29th and others. Superior courts provide for additional judge of the Chattahoochee Judicial District. Senate Bill 171 by Senator Hill of the 32nd. Forgery and fraudulent practices. Identity fraud, add medical identity fraud. Senate Bill 172 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others. Education, provide the Civil Rights Museum as a division of the Georgia Capitol Museum. Senate Bill 177 by Senator Gann of the 47th and others. Georgia Tourism Foundation, change the membership. Senate Bill 206 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others. Interstate cooperation, provide for delegation from the state of Georgia to certain conventions. Senate Bill 225 by Senator Stone of the 23rd and others. Criminal procedure, relieve a surety from liability under certain circumstances. Senate Bill 226 by Senator Gooch of the 51st and others. Coroners, investigation fees, change certain provisions. Senate Bill 227 by Senator Miller of the 40th and others. Employment security, provide changes to the determination of eligibility for unemployment benefits. Senate Bill 228 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others. Local government, define the area of operation and of a developmental authority. Senate Bill 229 by Senator Mellis of the 53rd and others. Fireworks, authorize possession, transportation of consumer fireworks, and authorize the sale. Local governing authority of municipalities, counties. Senate Bill 231 by Senator Loudermilk of the 14th and others. Georgia Drivers Education Commission, additional sums collected on fines, extend the sunset provisions. Senate Bill 234 by Senator Jones of the 25th and others. Insurance, limited licenses to sell travel insurance, comprehensive revision of provision, issuance, and regulation. Senate Bill 236 by Senator Jones of the 25th and others. Insurance, require insurers indicate amount of the premium increase, Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Senate Bill 241 by Senator Hill of the 6th and others. Georgia Leadership and Service Admissions Act, provide for leadership service recognition of students. Senate Bill 242 by Senator Hill of the 6th and others. Downtown Development Authorities, undertake projects reducing energy or water consumption, renewable resources. Senate Bill 243 by Senator Bethel of the 54th and others. Education, student scholarship organization definitions, change certain provisions. Senate Resolution 293 by Senator Gooch of the 51st. Ralph A. Pierce Memorial Highway, Lumpkin County, dedicate. Senate Resolution 371 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others. U.S. Congress, make renewed application to call for a convention for purpose of proposing an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. House Bill 59 by Representative Taylor of the 79th and others. Alarm monitoring services, licensed persons and companies to utilize alarm verification, require. House Bill 255 by Representative Rogers of the 10th and others. Unified Carrier Registration Act of 2005, administration responsibilities from Department of Revenue to Department of Public Safety, transfer. House Resolution 281 by Representative Roberts of the 155th and others. Tift County, named in honor of the late Henry Harding Tift, provide. Through with the order, Mr. President.
It's now time for the morning roll call. Time for the morning roll call. Are the motions to excuse? Chair recognizes Senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 23rd and the 40th for business outside the Capitol.
23rd and 40th, without objection, the two will be excused. Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 55th.
Ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 34th.
34th, without objection, the senator from the 34th will be excused. Other motions, senator from the 31st is recognized.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from 28th.
28th, without objection, senator from 28th will be excused. Senator from the 44th.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 43rd.
43rd, without objection, the senator will be excused. Any other motions to excuse? Busy day today on our 29th day. The Secretary will call the roll of senators. Signify your presence by voting the yea switch. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Yeah. Yeah. It is now time for our morning devotion. Time for our morning devotion. Would ask those senators wishing to exit the chamber at this time do so. And senators, please take your seats and prepare the chamber for our morning devotion. If the doorkeepers would please secure the chamber at this time. It is now my distinct honor to recognize the senator from the 42nd for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. It is a great honor for me today on Food Bank Day at the Capitol, where we celebrate the many people who spend their days feeding those in need. It's very appropriate that we have Mr. Bill Bowling as our chaplain today. He's the founder of the Atlanta Community Food Bank and has served as its executive director since 1979. In that capacity, he oversees the distribution of millions of pounds of food. He's got 200,000 square feet, a fleet of 1,000 trucks. This is a serious operation for good. And he has 600 nonprofit partners, as well as other food banks throughout the Southeast. I have here a list of awards that he has received, single-spaced, and he'd asked me to skip it, and I will. But I will note that the Georgia Trend magazine named him as the 2012 Georgian of the Year, and perhaps the best selection that they've ever made. And I'll say this, skipping over the many awards and the other aspects of his incredible life, and just say that he is a servant leader in the greatest sense. And one of the things that I know I respect most about him is that he has had this call and respected it for 34 years. And all of us struggle with what we're supposed to do in our lives, the discernment that's required to know that our calling is true, and he has been there and seen it, and for 34 years has had a clarity that I've always found wonderful, refreshing, and I've shared meals with Bill, and just sitting here for 5 minutes with him beforehand, it's a blessing to be around him, and I know that he'll share that with you this morning. So without further ado, Mr. Bill Bowling, thank you. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Senator Carter, and I want to thank the President for allowing me to be here. For a food banker, I'm glad just to get my old gray suit out today and put a tie on and be with you. I appreciate the opportunity to help begin your legislative day. I come as a representative of one of the largest private sector service providers in the state, the Georgia Food Bank Association. And the 2,300 congregations and community groups all around the state that will distribute this year over 90 million pounds of food. Today is the Georgia Food Bank Day at the Capitol. It's an annual day for us and one we enjoy having. And we would certainly invite any of you on a break or during lunch to come to the rotunda and visit. There is a food bank from wherever you are. We serve all 159 counties. I want to hold up what I think is a great model, a public-private partnership between the Georgia Food Banks and our association, the governor and the lieutenant governor's office, the Department of Education, the Department of Human Services, Bright from the Start, and the Department of Agriculture. Each of these departments of government we work with directly, in partnership, to deliver better services to Georgians. Today we'll have a press conference with our Attorney General, Sam Owens, who's working with us to generate support through what we call a legal food frenzy, getting attorneys involved. Now, I have an attorney as a son, so I can make this joke, but hard work to get the attorneys to do good things for us, and we actually have law firms across the state who last year raised tens of thousands of pounds of food and money. So it's a great initiative. Our partnership shows that by working together, the public and the private sector can get more done and serve more people. We also have strong support and participation from the business community, the state and local chambers of commerce, colleges and universities across the state, and a diversity of faith and civic communities. It's really through those faith communities and through those churches throughout the state that we're able to deliver product. In a time of sinking resources and a public that communicates it wants less government but no fewer services, we are all challenged to do more with less and make the very hard decisions about our collective future. It's really what you face every day. We want less government, but we want government to do more things for us. So the partnership, the public-private partnership that we have developed with the state, I think is a model for the future. Let us take a moment of silence in communion with God in your own personal way. And in a moment, I will end with a prayer. We give thanks, dear God, for the leadership and members of the State Senate and their unique opportunity to serve the common good. We don't take for granted, and we give deep appreciation for our freedom to gather around our common self-interests. Dear God, we pray for strength for those in this deliberative body to make hard decisions. We pray for wisdom to make the right decisions, for patience to find sustainable solutions, courage to face our fears and those who would disparage our motivations, and a vision for a shared future and equal opportunity for every person on this sacred earth. We ask today that a spirit of collaboration will run through our deliberations, that we might build trust in each other and our common future. In the words of one of the great writers and one of my teachers, Parker Palmer, we pray for healing the heart of democracy and the courage to create a politics worthy of the human spirit. Amen. Thank you all for what you do and for me being here today.
Thanks so much. Good job.
former member of this body, the former chairman of the Science and Technology Committee, and the former representative from Lumpkin County, former Representative Amos Amerson. House will be in order. We're about to go on to morning orders. This House will come to order. Got a lot of traffic going on. A lot of conversations that need to stop or be taken outside the chamber. The chair is going to insist that members, while in the chamber, give attention and respect to members in the well on morning orders. We have a number of morning orders this morning, so I'm going to ask you to remain seated and attentive. The chair recognizes Representative Buddy Harden on the floor. Representative Harden. Chair recognizes Representative Kelly for a morning order. Representative Trey Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I'm glad to come before you today and recognize a group of students, parents, and teachers from Lundy Christian Academy in Cedartown, Georgia. Lundy Christian is a private Christian-based school in Cedartown where students are offered not only the opportunity to get a quality education, but doing that with a Christian influence. These students start their day off much like we do ours here, with a morning devotion, and each students are required to remember weekly memory verses. This group is important to me not only for the mission of the school, but because my brother Matt attends there as well. So I'm glad to have y'all here, and if y'all please rise so that we can recognize you this morning.
Chair recognizes Chairman Pruitt for a morning order. Chairman Jimmy Pruitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to everyone. This morning is a group of guys that do more than you would ever think. It's a group of guys that basically has been around since 1934, not all of them, but the post was formed in 1934. And basically, these are the guys that go and visit with our veterans who are in the VA hospital in Milledgeville, in other VA hospitals. These are the guys that raise funds for the Wounded Warriors Project. These are the guys that might stand in the rain and honor, as an honor guard, their members who are going home. They've been doing this for decades. They've put on social events for these various veterans groups. They do a wonderful work, and they're often unseen and unknown. Now, one of the guys...
Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 382 by Senator Bethel, the 54th. A resolution congratulating the Dalton High School boys swimming and diving team on their 2013 Class 5A state championship win and for other purposes. Whereas with the state championship victory, the Dalton Catamounts solidified their legacies and clinched the program's second swimming and diving team state championship. Their previous title was achieved in 1993. And whereas as this magnificent team includes seniors Vincent Chazell, Taylor Dale, Matthew Franey, Chris Kamirski, Michael O'Brien, and Pearson Scarborough, juniors Ben Hegberg, Taylor Mathis, Austin Richard, Luis Rosales, Ali Scheisman, and Chase Todd. Sophomores Alex Kinzer, Austin McCandless, Jesse Ramos, Sam Reeves, and Alan Trejo. And freshmen Cody Carroll, Trey Davis, Omar Lopez, Austin Mills, and Ethan Young. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body congratulate the Dalton High School boys swimming and diving team on winning the 2013 Class 5A state championship and wish them great success in the future. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Great to welcome these wonderful student athletes that are state champions, and to do so, I call upon the distinguished senator from Dalton, the senator from the 54th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a pleasure to recognize excellence, and it's also a pleasure to recognize excellence from your hometown and from your alma mater high school. The men's swimming and diving team at Dalton High School was the last team outside the metro Atlanta area to win the state swimming championship 20 years ago. The fellows behind me and the gentleman up in the gallery replicated that feat just a few weeks ago by winning the state swimming and diving championships again. I want to give you a little perspective on the competitive nature of the men you see in front of you. I think I'm going to do that visually, and then I'm going to give you a few facts. I think we've got the winning relay time. This is the state meet all-time record, and this is the medley relay. So I think if we can pull that up, you can see how successful these young men are.
Have you heard the audio on this, by the way? From this board flipping out. Can they use it? Well, I don't think. Yeah. I thought you were talking about They broke the state record. Yeah. The group of men that are in front of you are the ones who swam this relay, and on the first day of the state swim meet, they set the state record. They came back for the finals and broke their own record by about 2 seconds, Coach? Second and a half over the previous state record. While you're watching their success in the water, I want to introduce in particular 2 young men in front of you who I believe someday may represent all of us. Taylor Dale is a senior at Dalton High School. He will be swimming for the University of Georgia next year. And while London may have been too soon, I think Rio sounds just about right. Taylor is a junior national champion. He swam in last year's Olympic trials to make the Olympic team, and we are all very excited for him. And Ethan Young, also a member of our relay team, is a freshman at Dalton High School, and he has the United States all-time records in the 100 and 200 backstrokes. That means no American has ever swum faster at 14 years of age or under in both of those events, and we're certainly proud for him. Rio may be a little early, but we'll look at, I don't know whether they're having it next, and we'll look for big things out of these young men. I'm going to recognize Coach Charles Todd, as you've seen their success in the water, to just speak a little bit about his team, and when he does so, I'm going to ask his team to stand up and let us recognize them. But as much as I want to recognize these young men and tell them how proud we are in our part of the state and my home for their success. I want you to hear somebody I'm equally proud of being a part of my community, and that's Charles Todd. Charles Todd has devoted himself to many things. Among them is building a swimming program in our community, and he does it the right way. This is an example of why athletics and extracurricular activities are an essential ingredient to educating our young people. Coach Todd loves my children, who are young swimmers, youth swimmers, and hundreds of other kids, both those that participate in Dalton Public Schools, but in all the area schools. He's free with his time to help anybody invest themselves, both in and out of the water. And so I want to ask Coach Todd to talk a little bit about his team. And guys, if y'all would stand up and let us recognize you, we'd appreciate it.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing us to come and visit with you guys today. I brought 12 boy swimmers that went down to Georgia Tech and won the state meet in an impressive fashion, beating the private schools here in Atlanta. And that's the first time that the second time a public school has won the state championship for 5A and under. And the first time was in 1993 by Dalton, and then 20 years later in 2013 by Dalton High. I have George News and Charlinda Haight. They're up top. They're the assistant coaches, along with the other members of the swim team. And this year we had 4 state champions. Represented Taylor Dell, won the butterfly, won the backstroke. He also was part of this relay team that won the medley relay, broke the state record. And to cap it off, we won the 400 freestyle relay to help secure the victory. So we had 6 All-American swims and just an outstanding swim meet and performance here for this team. And all of these guys put in a lot of work and dedication, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you.
Well done, guys. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks. Good. All right. Like to present the Doctor of the Day, and to do so, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a physician and a man among men in the community in Beaufort, Georgia, and Gwinnett County. Jay Smith got his undergraduate degree at Georgia Tech in biogenetics. He went on to Medical College of Georgia, did his residency at Harvard as a distinguished physician in our community. Hope y'all welcome him and give him a warm Senate welcome. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I'd like to thank all of y'all for what y'all do for the patients and the physicians in Georgia and making it a great place to come back and have my practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 430 by Senator Carter, the 42nd. A resolution recognizing and commending the Georgia school districts participating in the Farm to School 5 Million Meals campaign and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 431 by Senator Hinson of the 41st and others. A resolution recognizing and commending the Junior Leagues of Georgia State Public Affairs Committee and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 432 by Senator James of the 35th. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Emmanuel Nwosu and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 433 by Senator Golden of the 8th. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Mr. Larry Colson and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 434 by Senator Unterman of the 45th. A resolution commending the March of Dimes and recognizing March 13, 2013 as March of Dimes Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 435 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd. A resolution recognizing and commending Mr. John Lane on his induction into the Georgia Radio Hall of Fame and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 436 by Senator Schaefer of the 48th. A resolution congratulating Mr. Leo Wells Jr. and Mrs. Mary Nell Wells on the occasion of their 70th wedding anniversary on April 20th, 2013 and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? Chair recognizes Senator from the 32nd. Senator from the 32nd, you're going to engross 2 finance bills.
Mr. President, I move to engross Senate Bill 99 and Senate Bill 125. 145.
Senate Bill 99 and Senate Bill 145, both finance bills. Is there objection? Without objection, they will be engrossed. Secretary will, moving on to the general calendar, we do have some other special recognitions not present with us yet. When they do, we will take those up. Secretary will read Senate Bill 1.
Senate Bill 1 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 and Title 19 of the OCGA relating respectively to insurance and domestic relations so as to provide that both parents shall have equal access to the child's health insurance and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 1. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Titles 33 and 19 of the OCGA relating respectively to insurance and domestic relations so as to provide that both parents shall have equal access to their child's health insurance information and records and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Frequently in divorce situations, one parent has custody of the child and then another parent owns the health insurance that provides coverage for the child, and the custodial parent can have difficulty communicating with the insurance company over issues pertaining to the health care of the child. And this bill provides that those custodial parents who don't own the policy can communicate with that insurance company about the child's health care. Of course, if there are some issues where that parent is disrupting the health care or abusing that privilege, then a Superior Court judge could provide that they could not communicate anymore. It just opens up more access for those parents to provide timely resolve issues dealing with the insurance of the child, Mr. President, unless there are any questions, I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
The Senator yield?
Yes.
Senator, help me understand. On its surface, I understand what you just said the
Right.
bill is attempting to do,
Right.
but aren't those things resolved in the divorce settlement,
Well,
and how far it goes? I'm trying to understand why we're legislating it.
Not always, and there have been issues where the custodial parent is having difficulty getting the insurance company to provide them with information on the insurance coverage or payment of bills for the child, and then you find that that parent has to go back to the other parent, and if they're divorced, estranged, there can be difficulty, and we just don't need to put those parents in that position. To say that it's always free and easy and they have access with the insurance company is not the case, and I have seen that before in my practice. In the past, I used to practice domestic relations law. I've had recent complaints of it now, and so this is just to try to open up that door and make it clear that the insurance company must communicate with the custodial parent on issues pertaining to a child's health care. So,
Thank you, Senator.
No further questions, Senator.
thank you, Mr. President.
Questions on the adoption of committee substitute? Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreeing to report of committee which fail pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary unlock the machine.
What's our status on 2.6? We disagree with the House at 8.6.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 42nd to recognize some very special guests we have in the gallery.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you all know, today is Farm to School Day at the Capitol, and there's a group of nutrition directors from a variety of school systems, and we'd just like to recognize them and thank them all for being down here today. Thank you.
On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49 and the nays are 3. This bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read a resolution. We have a special group we would like to recognize in the well of the Senate, and the Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 421 by Senator Hinson of the 41st and others. A resolution commending the Georgia-based American Association of Adapted Sports Programs, the Georgia High School Association, and their collective school system members for their national leadership in the area of standardized adapted athletics for students with disabilities and for other purposes. Whereas the organization has been honored as the model for the nation by the Atlanta Paralympic Youth and Education Committee and 3 times named National Program of the Year by the American Alliance for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. And whereas these programs have served over 4,000 Georgia student athletes with physical disabilities in school-based athletic adapted sports programs, trained hundreds of officials and coaches, and held nearly 1,600 sanctioned interscholastic competitions in the wheelchair sports of handball, basketball, football, and track and field. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the American Association of Adapted Sports Programs and the Georgia High School Association for superb achievements in education and inclusive athletic programs for students with physical disabilities. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chairs none, and the resolution is adopted. Speak to the resolution and recognize our very special guest. I call upon the distinguished senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be here today to support a great program, the American Association of Adapted Sports. They are a model for the nation, really, in promoting sport activities for the disabled in schools and public setting in schools. It's been an outstanding program, more than 15 years here in Georgia developing it. Our state, through the help of Jack Hill, Senator Tippins, Butch Miller and others have put in $40,000 to help keep that program going, but it saves the state much more because it develops people, keeps them active, keeps them involved, and it is something that's rewarding in their lives and rewarding for the state. So I'm honored to be here with Coach Harlan Matthews, Ralph Swearingen from the Georgia High School Sports Association, and of course, Senator Miller. And if Senator Miller would come up, we'd like to present to Bev Vaughn a resolution from the Senate that we are honoring them, and I'll just do the resolved. Now that members of this body commend the American Association of Adapted Sports Programs and the Georgia High School Association for superb achievements in education, inclusive athletic programs for students with physical disabilities. So thank you very much. If you ought to hand that to her, Senator Miller, and then you make a statement.
On behalf of the American Association of Adaptive Sports Programs, which has had an alliance with the Georgia High School Association since 2001, we're grateful for you making this opportunity and for giving this resolution. Recent findings from the Office of Civil Rights have put a strong reminder that athletics now have the same kinds of guidelines in place as have been in place for special needs students in the classroom. And we're pleased that in Georgia, we're well ahead of the learning curve because that's what we've been doing for a long time. Thank you for your interest. If we can help you in any way to find out more about it, either go through the ASP website or the Georgia High School Association website. Again, thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone as well for your support over the years and your continued support of the program. This is vitally important for our young students with physical disabilities to take part in school-based sports, just like our able-bodied students have day in and day out through Georgia High School Association. We're honored to be here today and thank all of you for supporting the program and continuing to support the program. There's several teams here from schools around the state. They'd welcome an opportunity to say hi to you and thank you in person. If you have a moment, they're out in the hallway. But again, on behalf of ASP and Georgia High School Association, I'd like to thank you for your support. It means a great deal to us. Thank you.
Y'all just Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 417 by Senator Hill of the 4th and others. A resolution commending the Georgia Southern University ROTC program's 2013 Ranger Challenge team on their victory at the Regional Ranger Challenge competition and for other purposes. Whereas the Georgia Southern University ROTC program's 2013 Ranger Challenge team emerged victorious from the Regional Ranger Challenge competition sponsored by the 6th ROTC Brigade, headquartered in Savannah, Georgia. And whereas these Georgia Southern cadets have worked hard since last September under the capable tutelage of Master Sergeant Timothy Parks and Sergeant First Class Eric Lynn. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body congratulate the Georgia Southern University ROTC program's 2013 Ranger Challenge team on their victory at the Regional Ranger Challenge competition and extend to them best wishes as they compete in the International Sandhurst competition. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. To speak to the resolution and recognize these wonderful Georgians, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's a real honor today to present to you some of our best and finest young Americans who are leading the way in protecting the future of our country. This is the ROTC Ranger Challenge team from Georgia Southern University. And let me take a moment, if you'll indulge me, and I'll introduce the folks who've joined us here on the dais. The team is coached by Master Sergeant Tim Parks. If you'd raise your hand and let them know. Lieutenant Colonel Maria is here. He is right here. The members, and I'll go ahead and give you the communities where they hail from. David Freeman from Augusta, Charlie Witkowski from Alpharetta, Julian Holmes, who's the Cadet Brigade Commander from Fayetteville, Thomas Bird from Wahiawa, Hawaii. Guess you had to be there. David Witt from Kennesaw, Dakota Wright from Fayetteville, North Carolina, Ale Shortridge, is that Ale? Ale, okay, I tried. From Richmond Hill, and of course, many of you know Dr. Brooks Keel, the president of Georgia Southern University, doing a fantastic job. Let me just tell you real quickly what this team is and what they've accomplished. They're the 2013 Ranger Challenge team. They competed in a regional competition with some 38 other teams from all over the Southeast and came in first place in that team. And let me tell you a little bit about what the skill sets that they're competing in. Of course, is a 5 to 10 mile run, part of it carrying a 5-gallon water bucket full of water, 2 hours of swimming and calisthenics and so forth in the water, which is, the governor can tell you that's a long time in the water. Strength training and workouts, rifle marksmanship, grenade throwing. I'd like to be there for that. That would be fun.
Bring a few today.
But what they've done by winning the regional, they now go to the national competition, which is held at West Point. I don't see the senator from the 6th right now. There they'll compete against 56 other teams, which hail from all over the world. These are international competitions. So these are guys and ladies who have really succeeded in this competition, have done their college, and they're our state proud, we believe. I'm going to take a moment and present this resolution to Cadet Brigade Commander Julian Holmes and ask him to say a word. So, Cadet Holmes, come on up and I'll present this resolution to you and ask you to say a word. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Senator, and members of the Senate. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to come before you. I've seen over the past 4 years at Georgia Southern this Ranger Challenge team develop, and I tell you what, these guys who are before you today, they are the absolute epitome of all the hard work that we've put in, and we couldn't have done it without Master Sergeant Parks and Colonel Moray and the support of Georgia Southern University and Dr. Keel. So we just want to thank everyone, and we'll hope to represent Georgia well and the Southeast well in the international competition coming up. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined on the platform by a real Ranger, retired Ranger, the senator from the 30th. So we're glad to have you with us as well.
Well done. Thank you, sir. Let's get us a picture together. Okay, thank you. Good. Nice to see you. Chair recognizes, or excuse me, Secretary will read Senate Bill 99.
Senate Bill 99 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3 of Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to the county special purpose local option sales tax so as to allow such taxes to be imposed and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, Senate Bill 99, the idea behind the legislation, was brought to me by the Cobb County Commissioners as well as by the senator from the 31st when last year this chamber passed this legislation unanimously. The legislation gives a county the choice, the flexibility when it proposes a special local option sales tax referendum to the voters. This helps the county leadership so they can be the best stewards of taxpayer monies. The bill also allows counties to more readily limit proposed projects to only those projects that are most needed and desired in their community. For example, if only 0.5% is truly needed to pay for projects that the leaders and the public deem the most necessary capital projects, such as roads or perhaps a new county building, then the county is not required to add other less desired projects to the proposed project list just to make up the full 1% as required in current law. We've worked extensively with the ACCG and GMA. We're going to propose some amendments on the House side going through, and I commend this legislation to you. Yield for any questions.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
Did you say that we are going to propose some amendments to this on the House side?
The ACCG and GMA and I have worked together, and there may be an amendment related to the fractions so that we actually set the fractional percentages at 0.20% so that retailers and the Department of Revenue, for example, can more easily designate the tax and collect that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll yield the wealth or no other questions.
No further questions. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreeing to report of committee which favor will pass the bill. Chairs none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 47 and the nays are 1. This bill, AMC records constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read SB 116.
Senate Bill 116 by Senator Thompson of the 5th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-6-393 of the OCGA relating to homicide by vehicle so as to increase the penalty for homicide by vehicle in the second degree from a misdemeanor to a misdemeanor of high and aggravated nature and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil recommends that this bill to pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 5th to present the bill.
Members of the Senate, this bill was brought to me by a constituent in my district because of a situation that happened out in Gwinnett County, but one that is happening more and more often both in my district as well as in other districts around this state, and that's the issue of pedestrian fatalities and vehicular homicide. What happened in Gwinnett County was a tragic situation where a woman was walking her child in a stroller. A person in a car in the park backed up, didn't see her, wasn't paying attention, didn't know what she had hit. She pulled forward, backed up again, running over the woman and killing her child in the stroller. And for that, unfortunately, the way the code is written for vehicular homicide when it's unintentional, it's just a simple misdemeanor. You get a $1,000 fine and no jail time, that's it. This bill at least moves it up, making it a high and aggravated misdemeanor so that we can try to give solicitors and prosecutors around this state more flexibility when charging folks for what has to be the most gross form of negligence you can exhibit when driving a vehicle, and that's to literally run into and run over somebody. It's especially important in my district, not just because of this one incident that happened out in Gwinnett County, but because my district has such a high fatality rate for pedestrians, because we have a situation in many of our districts where people can't drive for whatever reason, and so they're walking, and literally one of the roads in my district, Singleton Road, has the highest fatality rate of any road in Gwinnett County because of that. With that, I would ask your favorable consideration, and if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
Okay. Chair recognizes Senator from the 46th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
I will.
Okay. You mentioned that under current law that these are treated as misdemeanors, which include no jail time. Isn't it true that a misdemeanor can be up to a year in jail as it is?
I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. Yes, you're correct. A simple misdemeanor is a $1,000 fine and up to 12 months in jail.
So that
rarely happens in these instances, but it is true.
That is the potential punishment that your constituent from Cobb County could have been subjected to on each of the two people that she injured. So
it wasn't my constituent. Well, I'm in Gwinnett County,
okay,
if I may, but I understand what you're saying. Actually, the perpetrator of this event, it was the constituent of mine was a victim. I hear what you're saying. They could have gotten up to a 1-year sentence. Yes. The reality is that the prosecutors take direction from us on how serious to treat these crimes. If we give these the most minimum sentence and the most minimum treatment that we give out here when we're making something a criminal offense, then that's the way they're going to treat it. And I'm just simply saying it doesn't mandate any particular minimum, so there's no mandatory minimum. The prosecutor will still have the flexibility in instances where the situation warrants of giving lesser fines, but it will also give the prosecutors the flexibility to have a higher fine where that is also warranted.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
Okay, am I correct that under the current law, if you commit this offense of homicide by vehicle while DUI, while reckless driving, hit and run, passing a school bus, or fleeing or attempting to elude an officer, it's already treated as either a high and aggravated misdemeanor or a felony under certain circumstances?
I believe the gentleman so states, but I do believe you're correct. You practice that area probably more often than I do.
So we've picked out certain types of conduct that we feel are so egregious that it would merit worse than just simple misdemeanor treatment, right?
That's correct, and I feel that this should be treated that way as well.
So now you're saying any other offense under our traffic code, anything from failing to put on your turn signal, to failing to yield the right-of-way, to going too fast for the conditions, not having your headlights on, any kind of infraction.
That's not what this bill does.
It doesn't exempt anything else. It says any person.
It says that it has to cause the death of another person.
Right, well, that's your offense. It's vehicular homicide.
And that's vehicular homicide. And the prosecutors will have that discretion to take a look at the totality of the circumstances, but they will have more flexibility. With a high and aggravated misdemeanor, they can still give no jail time. They can still give a smaller fine. But the reality is that prosecutors, especially with the level of pedestrian fatalities that we're starting to have and starting to see, need that flexibility.
But on a high and aggravated misdemeanor, that takes away the discretion on the judge of how much of that sentence they must serve, because they have to serve every day of the sentence on a high and aggravated
If they're given a sentence, of course, that also can be meted. I mean, judge does not have to give a sentence if this goes to trial and there is a guilty verdict, and if there is a plea negotiation, as you well know, jail time is always one of the negotiable things in a plea. So all of that still stays in place. That flexibility still stays in place.
Okay. Well, the Senator, yield for one final question?
Sure.
We just spent,
yes, I'll yield. Sorry, that was too informal.
We just spent 2 years with the Criminal Justice Reform Committee that reviewed every criminal offense in Georgia and the penalties for them. We had all the talk about locking away people that we were scared of and not locking up people that we're mad at, et cetera, and reviewed every criminal code in Georgia. Why shouldn't this have been dealt with in that bill if it was this significant?
It probably should have, and maybe that was an oversight when you're looking at the entire code. The reality is that sending a message that pedestrian fatalities should be taken more seriously is something I'm hoping us to do. It doesn't require any more jail time, so the prosecutors will still be able to be sensitive to that, as happened with the Judicial Reform Code, was to give prosecutors more flexibility so that they could take a look at what was in fact warranted, so that we're not simply dealing with folks that we're mad at, as you put at, but folks who are, in this instance, so negligent in their driving of a vehicle that it needs to be taken that seriously.
Thanks, Senator.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 33rd for a question. 33rd. Wish to speak? Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does Senator yield?
I'll yield.
In your opinion, if this change had been law before the accident that you spoke of, would it have changed the outcome of that at all?
I apologize, I'm having trouble hearing you. Are you asking me, would it have changed the outcome of the case, or would it have changed the outcome of the event? I mean, the event was going.
So my question is, had this been law prior to that event, do you think that it would have changed the outcome of the event or the behavior of any of the people involved?
Yeah, I don't have a time machine. I do think that one of the reasons you pass laws is to set up a deterrent, because law-abiding people, you assume, are going to pay closer attention to the law.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 47th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Senator yield?
I'll yield.
One of the things that when I look at this, I believe it would also address those that are on a bicycle if they're hit with an automobile. Is that correct?
That is correct, and there was testimony about that in committee, yes.
And I believe during our last legislative session, there was a bill that was passed into law that requires somebody in an automobile to maintain a 3-foot distance from a bicyclist. If the senator so states, I would be misspeaking if I told you I remember that bill exactly. The question I have is where we have somebody on a bicycle that gets hit with an automobile and leads to their death. Then they could be charged with multiple crimes. Obviously they entered that 3-foot zone, and then would be the homicide here. That depends.
entirely upon what statutes were involved, because it depends entirely upon the situation you're describing, whether it was intentional, everything from whether it was intentional or not, to road conditions, to but there are a myriad of things, so I don't know how to respond to your question. I understand that potentially when someone commits any act, it can result in multiple statutes being involved. And having practiced criminal defense law, I'm well aware that you can do one act, whether it's a bank robbery or a car accident, and you can end up with multiple charges. Yes, that's true in virtually every situation in this state, where not just this situation.
Thank you, Senator.
No further questions, Senator.
With that, thank you. I'll yield, and I'll ask your favorable consideration of SB 116.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree and report to committee which fail pass the bill? Chair recognizes Senator from the 33rd to speak. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. I rise for two reasons. One is I call him cousin, we're not really related, but to commend the senator from the 5th for his hard work on this bill. And I know when you first look at it, you want to say, is this too much? Well, let me give you an example of what it might do. A few years ago, I got a call when I was in Robbinsville, North Carolina, and my brother told me that there'd been a wreck at my church, and my sister-in-law, Betsy, was fine, but he said, Steve, I don't know whether Mother will make it or not. And I had to drive home. You can imagine that's a long drive, longer than normal. But when I got to Grady Hospital, because it was out on Washington Road, they told me that indeed my mother had died. Many of y'all came to her service, and I thank you so much for your kindness. It meant more than anybody will ever know. But the lady wasn't drunk. She was carrying a car full of children, and she was going extremely fast on Washington Road, and really wasn't paying attention and hit my mother's car on the side as they pulled out of the church parking lot on Easter Sunday. Well, we knew my mother, and we knew how much she loved people and everybody in this world. She'd forgive most everybody, all those in prison now probably, but that's just a mama. But what happened was we went to the court when the lady was charged, and we went to the court in Fulton County, and the first time the lady didn't show up, and the prosecutor solicitor told us, yes, she's just more or less admitted guilt, and you know, she's going to be imposed some sort of sentence. And we were there to be benevolent, actually, because we knew how she would have felt. But when we came back the next time, the lady had her lawyer, she was there, and she received 10 days in-house suspension with a permit to go to Kroger or wherever she needed to go during that 10 days. And we were again there to be benevolent, but we felt like it was a situation where the people here involved in this case knew each other pretty well. We could tell that. And not to say they didn't try to pull their feelings out of it, but it's one of those things that happen, and we were just hurt a little bit that they didn't think my mother's life was worth, I don't know, 30 days on probation, a fine, pretty large fine or something. That's the reason this can happen, and I don't believe it can happen under this law, or most probably wouldn't, because it elevates the crime to be more serious. And first of all, they have to be charged with it. It can't be the person that's died fault. They have to be charged with it. And then several people have discretion before it goes to court. Hopefully that solicitor would have leaned a little harder to give this lady maybe a larger reminder how careful to be when she's carrying kids and driving even on holidays. So I can't answer any questions about this matter because I don't know the law, but I know how I feel about it, and I think it's a good bill. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree and report to committee which fail pass the bill? Chair hears none. Report to committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair's non-main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Somehow it got erased. I think I pressed the wrong button. Yeah. Sorry. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 32 and the nays are 18. And this bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read. SR 378.
Senate Resolution 378 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the General Assembly may provide by law for the dedication of revenues collected from the sale of fireworks for the funding of trauma care and firefighter services in the state of Georgia and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this resolution do pass. Amendment 1 by Senator Unterman of the 45th offers the following amendment to Senate Resolution 378. By adding on line 27 after the word revenues generated by the sale of fireworks. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I'm bringing a bill that I'm sure could be contentious, but it's not, and I'll tell you why. During the 4th of July or any other celebrated event, and the senator from the 5th has one of the most diverse districts in Georgia, and he could have Chinese holiday or Korean holiday or whatever, 4th of July. And I want to tell you something. You probably hear fireworks in your district, in your community. But listen, come here. It's illegal. It's illegal. Now, this bill that I have for you does not change that currently. It's not the enabling legislation. The bill I have for you is to dedicate the revenue, if the enabling legislation passes, to something worthy, like trauma care or fire services, in order to help improve those conditions in our state. But fireworks are illegal in Georgia, yet you hear them every day, every celebrated day. You hear them in your community. I live on the border, like many of you represent a border county, and every county around us has fireworks. I don't mean the sparklers that the senator from the 9th and many of us passed several years ago. I'm talking about the whoosh, boom, the explosive kind. I'll do that again for you. Whoosh, boom, the explosive kind. My constituents and yours too travel to these states and spend tens of millions of dollars every year. Tens of millions of dollars. Sure. I'm going to confess something to you. I traveled across the Tennessee border last year and bought over $500 worth of fireworks. Brought them back to my house, and with the police officer across the street, we shot them off together. It happens every day. It's illegal, but no one enforces that unless there's a complaint from a neighbor. So since it happens every day, every celebrated day in Georgia, why don't we embrace that? Let's regulate them, make them as safe as possible. And with this bill that's before you now, dedicate the funding to something useful: trauma, fire services. So those things right there would help enhance the safety of fireworks or the safety of people in Georgia for many other traumatic events, or with our first fire service to help make Georgia safer too. Now, the question does not include the word fireworks in it currently. There's an amendment before you, and I do respect the author of the amendment, but I would ask you not to vote for that. And the reason is, and I'm sure she'll be down here to speak to that, but the reason is, in dealing with issues going across the chamber, you need something to kind of bargain with. And my purpose is to make sure that's in the question at the end, but I do need that now to help bargain with the House. Mr. President, I would love to stand here all day long and talk about fireworks and fire safety and trauma and how we can help those entities, but I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Chair recognizes Senator from 27th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Senator yield?
I certainly will.
With this legislation, passing this bill and passing the enabling legislation, having lived on Lake Lanier for 30 years and hearing fireworks go off every single time we have a holiday, all kind of fireworks, expensive fireworks, wouldn't this legislation keep a lot of my neighbors and friends from going to jail?
Yeah, it would, Senator. It certainly would. And the enabling legislation, when we get to that in the near future, it will make them safer because we're going to regulate the safety.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
I do.
On a number of bills since I've been in the Senate, you've appeared there in the well with that object in front of you on the podium. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, sir. This is a Carnes fire helmet, and the white represents a fire chief. And I was the last fire chief for the city of Chickamauga before they merged with the county.
Thank you for your service. I noticed that.
I was a lot slimmer back then too. Just today I'd be a victim myself.
Well, I wasn't going to ask you to model it. I was just noticing that it's always appeared very clean, and I didn't know if it was because of the heat of the fire. It's like an oven cleaner and it kept it clean, or whether you have to routinely clean that after you use it, or what the deal is.
Senator, thank you for that question. Well, the chief rarely goes inside a burning structure, but I would like to invite you to come to my office and see my lieutenant helmet, where the face shield is melted, and it melted while I was in a burning structure trying to help a family. So please come see me.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 19th for a question.
Senator Yield.
Yes, sir.
Senator, is it currently illegal to sell fireworks in Georgia?
It's illegal to sell the explosive kind. The sparkler type is not, but the other is illegal.
Senator, further yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, when you crossed the Tennessee line, were you still in Georgia?
Well, that's debatable too, but currently there's some gray area in that regard, but I think I was in Tennessee where I purchased them. It was Cleveland, but thanks for bringing that up.
Senator, you do know that the 35th parallel is the Georgia-Tennessee line.
I do, yes, sir, and it's close to the Old Crystal on Rossville Boulevard in Chattanooga, and I definitely know where that is.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
Amendment. Chair recognizes Senator from the 45th speak to her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All this amendment does is add the words generated by the sale of fireworks. And it adds on to the constitutional question, which is on the second page. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so to authorize the General Assembly by law to dedicate revenues generated by the sale of fireworks for the funding of trauma care and firefighter services in the state of Georgia. I think that it's only fair that the citizens of the state of Georgia know exactly what they're voting on when they vote for a constitutional amendment. And I understand what the senator from the 53rd is saying, that this will be added on into the House, but I'm asking you, because you are sitting here voting, that this is a voting record and that you will be criticized if you do not support this as trying to fool the voters or dupe the voters, or whatever words you want to use, into believing that they're voting for trauma care and firefighter services. And I just do not believe on your voting record that you want that to appear. So I'm asking you to support the amendment. I also have to say, as the chairman of the Health Committee, I feel like it is my fiduciary responsibility to also have on the record that just about every children's advocacy group that I know of, the Interfaith Children's Movement, which testified in committee, Children's Health Care of Atlanta, CHOA, is opposed to the sale of fireworks. Several years ago, they fought the sprinkler bill because they knew the sprinkler bill was opening the door to these quote-unquote explosive fireworks. It was testified in the Insurance Committee that the sale of fireworks would generate anywhere, I've heard estimates from $2 million to $10 million, but in committee they testified $5 million. And I can tell you from working at the Grady Burn Unit, which I did many, many years ago, that a burn incident on a child or on a victim from an accident that happens can be well over $1 million. So you have to look at the cost-benefit ratio of is this the best interest for citizens in the state of Georgia. I understand they're illegal. I understand that they are used now. But I have to say, on behalf of children and the burn clinics, the one at Grady Hospital, the one at Augusta, which are world-renowned. We have patients shipped from all over the world into these two burn clinics. And even $10 million is a drop in the bucket to take care of any burn victim. The other thing that is not brought up is the incidence of an amputee of a hand or fingers or toes where a rocket goes off sideways and hits someone, that has severe consequence. And I know from working in many emergency rooms a long time ago, the incidence of hearing loss and damage to hearing from being too close to the explosives going off. So with that, I ask for your favorable consideration of amendment number 1, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. I yield the well. Thank you very much.
Is there objection to amendment number 1, authored by the senator from the 45th? There is objection by the author of the senator from the 53rd. All those in favor of amendment 1, rise, stand, and be counted. If you're in favor of amendment number 1, rise, stand, and be counted. Reverse. On amendment number 1, the yeas are 10, the nays are 20, and amendment number 1 has failed. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed on the report of committee which failed to pass the bill? Chair is none. The report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair is none, and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no, and the secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 44 and the nays are 5, and this bill, MC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read Senate Bill 145.
Senate Bill 145 by Senator Heath of the 31st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 of the OCGA relating to bona fide conservation use property so as to add farm weddings to the definition of agritourism and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Committee on Finance offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 145. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 of the OCGA relating to bona fide conservation use property so as to provide that farm weddings shall not constitute a breach of covenant and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st to present the bill. This will be the last bill before lunch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I bring you Senate Bill 145. This is a very simple bill. Currently, if you have real estate that's in the CUVA program, the Conservation Use Valuation Assessment, and you allow weddings to be conducted on that farm, it is a breach of the covenant, and you have to pay a penalty and get out of the covenant. So all this does is allow you to have weddings on property that's in the CUVA program. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any, Mr. President. This is supported by Farm Bureau and other agribusinesses in Georgia. Thank you.
The question is on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Grant report of committee which fail pass the bill. Chair hears none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair is none and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the passage of the bill. All of those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 46, the nays are 2, and this bill, MC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The Senate will stand at ease until 1:30. Senator, let me have your attention for a moment. Senator from the 50th would like to make an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to remind you that the Greater Atlanta McDonald's Operators Association are serving lunch in room 216. They have the healthy menu options, including salads, yogurt parfaits, and apple slices.
Oh, it doesn't get much better than that, I'll tell you. All right, the Senate will stand at ease till 1:30.